Okay, so moving right along, king and rook versus king. This is a very standard position, and I've chosen it because it could very easily illustrate the steps that we need to follow to win this position when we're ahead in material. Now, something that I'd like to explain, or teach typically when I'm showing students how to checkmate with one piece, when you're ahead one piece, is that it's essential to understand that in these type of situations, your lone king can never checkmate your opponent's king. With that said, another key thing to understand is that there is no piece that you could use that piece by itself could checkmate the opponent's king. So when you're checkmating, you're always going to need, especially in these scenarios, in these endgame scenarios, you're always going to need teamwork, okay? And that's essential to understand because in this position, the rook by itself cannot checkmate the king, and the king by itself can obviously not checkmate the king. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how to use both pieces to checkmate the opponent, okay? So the first move that white is going to do here is rook to a7. And just like the staircase example, what we're doing here is that we're trying to take away squares from the black king. And what this does is that this makes the win as quick as possible. Notice that by playing rook to a7, we remove the 7th rank from the king, and now the king is only limited to the 8th rank. So there's not that many squares to it can move to. So let's say that black chooses to counterattack. He plays king to d8, and now his plan is to attack the rook. So what we do is, we know that the rook by itself has already done its job. Then we apply the concept of teamwork. We start improving the positioning of our king. What we want to do is basically reach one of those positions that we previously saw, which is to use both pieces to corner the king and eventually checkmate. So let's proceed with the example. King to c8, king c3, king to b8. Okay, the king is threatening the rook. And so all we have to do now is simply move the rook over to the other side, just like we learned in the staircase, and we proceed. King c8, king d4. Notice that the king is moving forward towards the other king so that he could help the rook to win the game. King to d8, king to d5, king to e8, king to e6, and now we've optimized the placement of our pieces. Notice that we're using the king and we're using the rook, and we should win pretty quickly. King to f8. Now if white rushes and plays rook h8 check, the king will have an escape square. So let's move back one move, and let's see how to optimally win this position. King to f6, king to g8, threatening to capture the rook. And here, there is a maneuver that white could play to checkmate in 2 moves. Try to see if you could find this maneuver. Okay, so the winning move here for white is to move the rook anywhere along the h-file. He could play rook to h5 or rook to h1, and notice that now the rook takes away all these squares from the black king. The king, optimally placed on the 6th rank, takes away these squares from the black king, and the only move that black has in this position is to play rook to f8, and checkmate is very easily accomplished after white simply moves the rook down towards the 8th rank and checkmates the black king. Notice how easy that was by simply using both pieces with teamwork to take away the squares from the black king as quickly as possible and to checkmate. Let's go ahead and see more examples so that we could solidify the understanding of how to checkmate with king and rook versus rook.